On the eastern edge of Birmingham, Alabama, lies a racetrack that is as much a work of art as it is a racing venue, Barber Motorsports Park. And it's not motorsports that's the key. It truly feels just like a park. To the point that even due to its landscaping and greenery, Barber is often referred to as the Augusta National of motorsports. But make no mistake, the track itself is as much of a gem as is the surrounding facility. Conceived by motorsports fanatic George Barber and designed by Alan Wilson, it is a compact track of amazing rhythm with swoops uphill and down dale. Full of challenging corners, perhaps the best known is the turns and 5-6 complex that is called Charlotte's Web. So called due to the presence of a large spider sculpture prominently placed near the tricky fall-away off-camber corner. Tonight, this picturesque circuit welcomes the competitors of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata series for round 2 of season 3. Hi all, I'm Greg Kramer and welcome to the Magic Garden that is Barber Motorsports Park. Kyle Heyer is alongside as always, and Kyle, this place perhaps more than any other truly fits the phrase, a jewel of a racetrack.
It's a roller coaster. It is so much fun to drive, and while in some of the fast cars that you typically see in association here with this racetrack, thinking of IndyCar in particular, it's challenging to pass. With club level cars and MX-5s in particular, this is an amazing racetrack. It's super high speed. You've got camber to lean on. You've got big sweeping corners, and you mentioned the uphills and the down dales. It's just a blast all the way around the 2.5 mile configuration.
And what's cool is some of those off-camber, or the downhill runs are off-camber, so you've got banking, like you said, in spots, and in others, everything falls away from you, and you really have to be up on the wheel to get a good lap done around this place. And we are now into qualifying. You can see about 6.5 minutes left for this qualifying session. Real quickly, have to say a huge shout out to Court Schmidt and Full Send Sims. Again, was his idea to create this series, and Full Send Sims doing so much, not just for iRacing, but also for real racing by virtue of the sims that they build. So a huge thanks to Full Send Sims, also to 3P Logistics and Final Turn Motorsports, two absolutely wonderful prep shops that are presenting sponsors of this series. So right now, up to the top, Joshua Soto, and it's been interesting. In the first round of the championship, we saw the speed from everybody that you might think about, but some of them, as happens, just had atrocious luck.
Yeah, there was a lot of bad luck at times, but I think this week you're going to kind of control your own destiny a little more. There's not as much draft or slipstream here at this racetrack. Not a ton of straightaway in general. You spend most of the lap turning in some way, and a lot of braking as well, because there are some slower corners, specifically the corkscrew at the middle part of the lap. But carrying momentum and carrying speed is pretty critical here. And one of the things that will always catch you off guard here, Greg, is the grass on the edge of the track. If you clip it while you're entering these downhill sections or kind of nearing the end of the lap, those fast right-handers, if you drop a tire, you're going for a ride, and the walls are not that far away. So you have to be conscious of the track limits here. There's not a lot of pavement runoff. There is some, though, to lean on.
Yeah, it's a track you have to drive with a lot of precision, exactly because of that. I like what they've done there, where you have that little bit of a grass verge, and then you've got that pavement, so if you do run wide, it'll cost you time, but you can save it. But as you said, that's few and far between. And there are a couple of corners here that you have to be very, very sure that you do not get all four wheels up on the curb, because if you do, that will be a track cut penalty. I think most notably down in the turn 5-6 complex, and also up in 7-8-9. But Kyle, give us a lap of this track.
Yeah, so it all starts with the run down to turn number 1. It's a very fast left-hander to kind of descend into a compression and carry speed. It'll be about third gear here in the MX-5, maybe fourth if you're carrying a lot of speed. Then into turns 2 and 3, a right-hander with a lot of banking to lean on, up over a crest at turn 4, then down into turn 5. A really got good passing opportunity. 6 is just kind of a nothing corner. You're kind of under acceleration in these cars. Then through a slight bend up to turn 7, 8, and 9, down into the corkscrew. Huge elevation change at this section. Into a kink at 10 and 11. It's fast. Jump some curbs here in these cars. That's all right. And then 12 and 13. You could call that a chicane, but there's just so much speed. A little bit of a blind entry as well. Then 14 and 15, this is where I'm saying to watch that exit, because you're coming over another blind crest right out to the edge of the road before 16 takes you back to finish the lap. It's 2.38 miles. Takes these cars about 1 minute and 43 seconds, but it is fast and it is flowing.
Yeah, and the exit of 1 when you fall away, like we were talking about, that goes off camber, down into Charlotte's Web, turn 5, that's off camber, and it's so easy as a result to run wide in those corners. So you've got to be on your game. The other part of this that's interesting to me, Kyle, is that last sequence of corners. The quick way around it is you would turn in early for 14, float out a little bit, then come back in to set you up. But if you do that during a race and somebody's behind you, it's easy to just aim straight to the apex, let off the brake for a second, and send it up the inside and get a pass done. So you've got to drive some of the parts of this track very differently in qualifying than you do in the race, and that to me makes it really interesting. And what I love is you drop down into 1, you come down out of 2 through 3, and then out of 7, 8, 9, that drop down are really abrupt and take you all the way to the lowest parts of the track. So it happens in a great hurry here as we have a good look here at Greg Ginsburg, who's just looks like he's catching a few Z's, firing it up, and says, "Hi, Mom."
Greg Ginsburg giving us the inside look tonight. So will Camden Hibbett and Morgan Burkhardt. Will have onboards with those drivers tonight as well. Qualifying continues as it is going right now. Jordan Rickson-Graney, 4th place at the moment. Beans Forster in 5th. Well, he just got shoved to 6th because it was Caleb Patry that I believe just jumped up to a 4th place run, and Nicholas Rice-Puto up in 2nd. So a lot of the same players, but Morgan Burkhardt takes the top spot away, just as I was about to mention that he wasn't on pole just yet.
Yeah, by 73 one-thousandths of a second. So, and that's one of the things that this track does. It's not particularly long, and one thing it is, as you said, all momentum. You don't have really long straights here per se, and all these straights, the better you exit a corner with great momentum, shorten them up just enough where that momentum just becomes so crucial. Great look here, turn 5. And then that climb up into turn 6. There's that big wide curb I was talking about. Got to keep 2 tires on the black here. And then you come up and out, and then this tricky complex here. It's a chicane, but you can almost straight line it. Watch what Morgan does here. There, cut that curb, and down you go. And then here's that big plummet down the hill, Kyle.
And then you accelerate, and then there's this quick left-right, which is so much fun in these cars because you can lean on the curbing. You can't really do that in a sports car here. It's pretty abrupt, but watch this. Morgan Burkhardt slams the right side curbing, gets the 2 tires up in the air. And then kind of a similar-looking complex here, but with a bit more elevation change. And here the curbs are pretty flat, so you can get on top of them. Morgan's going to do that on the left and do that on the right. That curb is about a car width wide, and you'll use all of it. Then turns 15 and 16. This is that challenging complex you mentioned a moment ago where the track is very, very wide. You've got a lot of potential line options, but not all of them are fast.
Exactly. You know, like I said, through there you saw how Morgan opened that up a little bit, but enough room a car could stuff itself down underneath here. Let's see if he improves and opens that up. A 153.5 was his best, and no, not this time. Oh yeah, he did a 143.3. So he did improve just a little bit. And the one thing I was going to say, that 10-11 complex, if you watch these cars, because of the, underpowered by design, that's what these cars are. You don't have to use the entire width of the track and swing way right to flick through 10 and 11. You can actually go mid-track, not lose any momentum. But 12 and 13, although it doesn't look like it when you look at a map of the track, it just seems a lot more snug, doesn't it?
It does feel that way. And while this racetrack, again, I'm mentioning the width of it, it is very wide. I'll bet you the run down to turn 1 is going to feel very narrow.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
first turn, it's kind of blind going into it because the track falls away. And I think that's kind of a theme that we talk about a lot here at this racetrack is how you really can't see much at the exit of the corner you're heading into, whether it's going up or going down. There's a lot of places where you can get yourself in trouble by not paying attention to what's going on or the flags around you. So that's something to keep an eye on. But Greg, we're getting gridded. We'll have a pace lap to go over the starting lineup here, but Joshua Soto already impressing with that second place starting position on the outside of the front row. And I don't hate the outside for the start here because if you can stay side by side through the opening corner, turn 2 flings you back to the right.
It kind of has a similar feel to the end of the back straight and up into the S's at Mid-Ohio, doesn't it? You can work that outside line. It just goes to the left instead of to the right.
It certainly does, so that'll be something to consider. This is round 2 of the season. Round 1 last week at the Homestead Miami Speedway Roval was a lot of fun, but I think tonight it's going to get pretty scrappy, especially at the starts of these races. Remember last season, Greg, we had a big pileup in turn 2 in the first race.
Yeah, we did, and let's hope we can avoid that this time. And you mentioned this third season. Remember, the previous 2 were 8 rounds, and all rounds counted in the points. This third season, a little bit of adjusting. It's now a 10-round championship, but with 2 drops. So, it gives everybody an opportunity to stay in that championship right to the end if they're so inclined. And you can also just have 2 more nights of racing, 2 races each. So that's 4 more races. How can you not like that?
Well, and the other thing, it'll allow you to be more aggressive, Greg, because you've got a mulligan or 2. So if you're a driver like Morgan Burkhardt, you have the ability to be more aggressive and get the elbows out a little if you have to. But let's roll through our starting lineup here, Greg. On the front row, it's going to be Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40, Joshua Soto in the number 77.
In the second row, in the number 5, is Nicholas Rice-Puto, joined by Jordan Rickson-Greeny in the 108.
And behind them, it's Caleb Patry in row 3 alongside Beans Forster in the number 23.
Next up in 7th is the 132 of Camden Hibbett. Very impressive in that first round. Skip Brock Jr. also on form in this third season in the number 32.
And behind them, row 5, 9th place, Jordan Butler in the 72. Olivier Piatek starts 10th in the number 62.
Olivier, a little bit of a rough go in that first round. Look for better things today. Starting a really solid 11th, the 18 of Gianni Morrow, and starting in 12th, the number 16 of Andrew Gilliland.
And behind them, it's Trace Hance in row number 7 on the inside. On the outside, Court Schmidt in the number 172 in 14th.
Starting 15th, it'll be the number 20 of Jean Reyes, and in the 16th spot, Caleb Pocock in the number 6.
And Eric Hewo in the number 21. Carson Neal starts 18th in the number 117 car.
Starting in the 19th spot, the 042 of Seth Spellman, and in the 20th spot, the 00 of Max Bankin.
And row 11, Jim Friedhofer in the number 89. Max Dara starts 22nd in the number 11.
Starting in the 23rd spot, Greg Ginsburg will be on board, his number 7, the Oreo car, and in the number 73, starting 24th, Wayne Buttermore.
And 25th place is Dave Brown. Jason Oliveras starts 26th in the number 22.
27th spot, it's number 8, Jose de las Casas. Nice to have him back with us. And Mike Schmidt, driving the number 531, will start 28th.
And the last driver in the grid will be Dean Dibdal in the number 99, starts 29th. Looks like Mike Schmidt did not take the grid, so he will not start this first race unless he starts from pit lane, which is a possibility. We'll see if he will do just that, Greg. They're working their way down to the final sector of Barber Motorsports Park. And you mentioned this is the Magic Garden. We'll see who's got the witchcraft and wizardry to beat everybody else tonight.
Oh, nicely played. Well done indeed. Yeah, this place, I mean, it's fun, but it's tricky. It's got nuance to it. All right, pace car is in. And so Morgan Burkhardt leading him around again with a very impressive Josh Soto on his outside shoulder in that number 2 starting spot. Here we go, onto the front straight. Round 2, first of 2 races about to unfold here at Barber Motorsports Park. Waiting for it. We're green! Big field, big lunges from back in the pack, but up front, is he going to do it from the outside? Josh Soto in that red and black car sweeps the outside, but look at that. Burkhardt went in incredibly deep, just leapt into the lead, but looks like Soto will have position to at least hang on to second. And everybody so far, a couple of bobbles back there, Kyle, but it looks good.
Everyone gets through turns 1 and 2 clean. Here comes Rice-Puto to the inside of Jordan Rickson-Greeny. That's that white and blue and black car to the inside, or the outside rather. Teammates with the leader down to the hairpin. Big moves from the green car. Is that Piatek in the 62? Still 3 wide.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, Skip Brock there on the outside in that yellow and blue machine.
Oh.
Squeeze play, a tap, another tap. Looked like people got away with it, but there were definitely a couple little bumps there, Kyle.
Down into the corkscrew for the first time. Straight line shot for Burkhardt. A little bit of pushing and shoving in the background. Skip Brock Jr., I think, had contact maybe with Camden Hibbett. See the damage on the nose of the 132.
Yep.
And a couple cars behind him, the 72 of Jordan Butler.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Jordan Rickson-Greeny had some big rotation turning into the corkscrew there, held on to it, but obviously pushing hard early here. Max Bankin looking to the inside to make a move. The blue car with the orange stripes really squared it up down into 1, but didn't get that pass done. We've got somebody off. Oh, a brush of the wall. That may actually have saved him a bit there, Kyle.
That was Camden Hibbett that had that big moment, and Trace Hant said, oh, there's more trouble. This time, well, Camden Hibbett made it through, but who didn't?
Yeah.
There's a couple cars going off. There was all sorts of chaos there. Trace Hant was the one I saw dip off, and that was for pit lane.
Yeah, and I think Trace is the one that has that there. Yeah, the blue car with those orange stripes. Had the name wrong there, but that was really a shame because he was looking like he had a pretty good start. Boy, you can hear those tires working, can't you, as they are doing everything they can in these Spec Miatas to get after it here as we hop on board with Skip Brock up and over the rise.
Yeah, Skip Brock started 8th and is running 8th, but you wouldn't believe the lap he just had. Getting past passing people, ended up in the same spot as where he started. But see the downshift there? How much the car rotated when he shot the car down a gear, Greg, using the gearbox to help rotate the car.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just use it to pivot it a bit, don't you? And it really can be effective here. And then behind them, there's Johnny Morrow, Eric Haywo, and Jean Reyes. They are in an absolute clump right now.
Big
on
curb
board
jump.
with Jean.
Ooh, that's tight down to the corkscrew. Little crossover there, over-under from Morrow. Well done. If he can out-drag the 21 to the chicane, he'll have him cleared, but that's going to be a tight fight between these two.
Yeah, and I'm worried for Johnny Morrow. That looked like he had all 4 tires up on that curb. And our race director made a post here on Discord before the race saying if you do that, it will be a track cut penalty. Now, they might get a warning. Let's hope they do.
Oh, you see it again there, the 21, big cut.
Yeah, see,
and
there's some spots.
Oh, behind him.
Held on to it, man, yeah.
Camden Hibbett in the 132, kind of on a recovery charge after losing some spots on the opening lap. You mentioned the curbs. They're pretty flat around here. You can get really aggressive on them, but yes, you can cut them if you're not too careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Jean Reyes, nice move there coming through on Camden Hibbett. And as you said, Camden caught up early, as clearly was Reyes. You look at the back of that car. So we saw some really serious speed from Camden in round 1. And obviously he's going to be a bit nonplussed, I think, to be back where he is. But it'll be fun to watch him come through the field.
A lot of cars with front and rear damage on this opening couple of laps. The braking zones here, I mentioned there's a couple big ones, and especially on the opening lap when you're following nose to tail, there's not a lot of places to go if you get your braking a little wrong. So Eric Haywo, Johnny Morrow still fighting for 9th place, and all the while Skip Brock Jr. has run down Jordan Butler in the 72. This is a battle for 7th.
Oh, this is really, really tight here, and up front, Burkhardt leads, but by only a couple of tenths over Soto. So we've got good racing unfolding everywhere here. That lead group, that's a big, big group of cars that are still all in touch with our leader right now, isn't it, Kyle?
Yeah, first down to 8th place, effectively all in one group. There's a 2.5-second gap between Butler and Forster, you see in your shot here. But there's Butler now leading Skip Brock Jr. into the braking zone. And Skip pounding the back of Jordan Butler. He might have pace to run with that front group, but he's got to dispatch the 72 before he can get there.
Well, we saw him in season 2 a couple of times get trapped in this second group, finally make a pass, and then be able to just run down that lead group. Problem is, in season 3 here, these races have gone from 25 to 20 minutes, so you've got to get those passes done a bit earlier. And look at the defense there. That was kind of looked like that was in reaction.
Yeah, you only get a move that is in anticipation of an offensive maneuver, not in defense of, or not, I guess, in reaction to is the word that you used, which is widely used in rule books across the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that rule. It's you can put your car anywhere you want, but you just can't do it if it's reacting to a move from the guy that's behind you. So now Skip Brock is untethered, so to speak. Let's see what he's going to be able to do as we watch Burkhardt, Soto, Rice Puto, Rick Segrini, Patry, and Forrester. That is a great group of cars right up in the sharp end. And I want to just mention something that, Kyle, you talked about how smooth and low these curbs are. Well, this track was designed more with motorcycles in mind than cars. George Barber, the guy that designed it, right off to the left there, you see that big building. That is the Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, and it has, at any given day, some 600 motorcycles on display. Every one of them runs And there are 1,400 motorcycles or thereabouts in the entire collection. But what I love, and believe me, I love the bike stuff, but it also is home to the largest collection of Lotus race cars in the world as well. And a tour of that place, if you ever get here in real life, folks, it is mandatory. But like I said, it was designed for bikes, so those curbs are really gentle so the bikes don't get launched when they hit them.
And same with the cars, but
yeah,
you can be so aggressive on them. I don't think the bikes would likely get up on them too much, despite them being smooth and relatively flat. But Joshua Soto's not letting Burkhardt get away here, Greg. The battle for first is on with 12 minutes and 50 seconds to go. The 77 was quick in practice, was quick in qualifying, and not any slower in the race. He's got Bryce Sputo right behind him, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really impressive. We've seen his speed, and he's just been caught up in a few things. Speaking of caught up, look at this battle. That Pocock around the outside, then you see right in front of him is that
Hibbett's
132 of Camden Hibbett. Yeah.
Yep, the purple car is Hewo here, then Morrow on the outside. Oh, engine blown. The 21.
Oh, boy. Yeah. We have seen that happen. It's so unfortunate. Eric Hewo done, parked by the side of the track. But he was racy. He was really getting after it. He was up in that second group, and that's an aggressive group.
It is an aggressive group, and we saw a lot of engines expire here at this track last season. So I'd expect some more of that mistake, just trying to get the car slowed down. And a lot of times when you're slowing down a car with an H-pattern gearbox, you can lean on the engine braking, but you can't over-rev past the red line, especially not in this car. It will burn you if you do that, and we've seen that time and time and time again. Here's Court Schmidt up to 13th place after starting in 14th. He's got Caleb Pocock and that battle with Hibbett, Morrow, and Reyes right ahead of him.
You can see a big wrinkle on the back of Court's car. I think in those opening few corners, like you said, it's such a big pack, and obviously sometimes you're driving through 5, 6, 7 windshields, and I think there's just a moment where there's a big accordion, and obviously some nose-to-tail contact, but everybody pretty much survived it here at this stage. Oh, look at this. Big move here now, watching as Hibbett up onto the back of Johnny Morrow. Looks to the inside, heading into one. Don't think he's quite there. Wisely tucks back in again.
Thought better of it. Going to try the outside here at 2 and maybe try to cross him over on exit. You have to really lean into the inside line here. If you drift wide too early, the front tires just scrub and you just can't get the rotation you need. And Hibbett left the inside a little early here. It opens the door for Pocock, but puts him on the wrong side of the track for the braking zone here. Morrow has an attack and a lunge on Reyes, but didn't get there in time. Pocock up the inside.
Yeah, that was so close. But this is what we're seeing. This is what we absolutely love about this category. And yeah, you're absolutely right about the, just the swings of momentum here. And you just make one little bobble because these cars are so equal. It can cost you a huge amount of momentum. And I say it so many times, but in a momentum series like this with identical cars, when you lose that momentum in a corner, especially at corner exit, you're in that deficit all the way to the next braking zone. So that's why you've just got to keep this absolutely on it here. And a big attack here as we're looking back from Rick Segrini on Caleb Patry. That is for 4th. Patry is in the 5th spot behind him here.
I've never been able to figure out this 15 and 16 complex in iRacing. I imagine it's sufficiently challenging in the real world as well, but that line through 15, I just struggle to find the grip level and carry good speed through there. You have to kind of sling through it, Greg, but it seems like there's a bunch of different lines. How do you approach a corner that's that wide and has that much radius to it? It seems like it's so challenging to find that perfect line.
Yeah, and it is, and like I said, it changes from the, the absolute fast line around there is not the line you want to use when you've got somebody behind you. And so, what you really have to do is during the practices is get out there and explore a few different lines to find out, all right, is there grip here? Can I make the, can I run wide here if there's nobody behind me and gain a little bit? But this, as you said, this track is so wide everywhere that, it's inviting to just try and let it flow out. But at a certain point, you're not going to have a lot of rubber down on the track. And as a result, the grip's not going to be there.
Tell you what, Soto, he can linger here until about 2 or 3 laps to go. I keep my eyes on him. He's really keeping Morgan honest here. This was a track I believe Morgan kind of dominated at last season, just kind of drove away from everybody, but he's not been able to do that. And I think it's because of Soto. He's just been as quick, actually has a faster best lap than Burkhardt by about 0.2 of a second. And I wonder if he'll just sit on this for now or if he'll try to get by Morgan as soon as he can.
Well, he just got a huge run, Soto did, out of that last corner and ran up onto the back of Morgan. But then Morgan got so much speed through that chicane, that complex there of 12-13. And now you got to get, how far do you swing back over? How much do you open that up? That's always one of the questions here with turn 17, or as some maps have it as 16, that last turn. That's a bit dicey as well, that transition back to the right side of the track to set up to get onto the front straight. And then here we go, that downhill plunge here. Boy, this one's flown by. We're already well past halfway, Kyle.
Yeah, only 7 minutes to go in this first race of 2. So a lot still left to have pan out here, but I think the front is a bit more volatile than it's been in seasons past, with Burkhardt leading, but it is a little larger this time through half a second over Rice-Puto and Rick Singrini.
Yeah, it is. Here we go down through 5, and you wonder if Morgan maybe wasn't saving a little something in his back pocket here, and now decided, well, I got that little margin. Let's see if I can make a little bit of a break here. Last lap, he turned a 143.8 to a 144.3 for Soto, so that's where that little gap shot up here. And one thing that Morgan is really, really adept at is saving a little bit of tire to have something left. And sometimes the people that are trying to stay with him use the tire up a little bit. We'll see if that's the case. Going back, watching Court Schmidt sitting in the 11th spot, has gone around and taken the spot away for the 20 of Jean Reyes, but Reyes not going quietly with the 00 of Max Bankin right on his 6 as well. And Caleb Pocock in that sort of Miller liveried car right there. Whoa, that's what happened tomorrow.
Yeah, just kind of cut the downhill and then kind of rode the rim there to bleed off the slowdown. If you cut that grass section, you will get a slowdown penalty and have to give up some time. So that brings Morrow right into the fight for 10th place, trying to defend his top 10 run at the moment. And Court Schmidt trying to work his way into it. Oh, one car way off. What just happened?
Was that the 8? Yeah, just a big wobble. And off he went. There's the 22.
Jason Oliveras, let's see what happened to him. This is a corner, well, we got to go back up a little further. This is a corner I mentioned in the pre-show here that if you run out wide, it looks like he did just that.
Yeah, he missed the apex completely, and that got his exit way off track, didn't it?
And went for a ride. Morrow, by the way, has hit pit lane, maybe got a more significant penalty for cutting the track. Or had some damage he wanted to repair, but he's on pit road as we go back to the lead. Half a second and 5 minutes remain for Burkhardt, Soto, Rice-Puto, Singrini, and Caleb Patry.
You notice as now Burkhardt starting to ease away just a little bit. You look at Nicholas Rice-Puto starting to really attack here on the back of the 77 of Soto. But that said, that last lap, Soto ran about a 10th quicker than either of those two. So he's definitely feeling the heat right now from Rice-Puto, and I think that's caused him to pick his pace up a little bit.
Yeah, again, his best lap is 0.2 better than basically anybody else on the racetrack, maybe short of Rick Singrini, who is only a 10th off of Soto. But I think the 77 might be the fastest car here, but Morgan's got a little bit better racecraft in the early stages of this race, got him out front. But both of them dropped a tire at the exit of 15, and you see Morgan sliding the rears here, turning in for turn 16.
Morgan's definitely feeling the heat, isn't he? There's no question. He's driving it really, really hard. And you can see Morgan looked in his mirror, saw he had a little bit of room back to Soto, so ran that wider arc through 14, 15, 16. And now big lunge by Rice-Puto down into 1. Oh, and he just wiped Soto right off the track. That'll be looked at just a little bit. But as I said, it's so easy, and you turn in early like that, Kyle, with that off camber. That's a natural thing for that car to do, isn't it?
Yeah, he turned in here. He had overlap kind of late on the corner entry, but then right here on exit kind of runs the 77 off, and they were still had overlap there, Greg. So I think you're right. You want to make a pass without pushing someone off course, and with that, it's given Burkhardt another half-second advantage, and that was Soto didn't defend it, Greg. Maybe that was the mistake the 77 made, is this late in the race, you can't count on the guy behind you working with you.
Well, exactly. And maybe what you do is you move over to left just a little bit here. But I think in Soto's head, he was going, if I do that, I'm going to be slow out of that corner anyway. And that's going to let Morgan get away a little bit. So he just thought, I'm going to try the outside and hope he gives me some room. But as you can see now, that gap from Burkhardt to Rice-Puto has ballooned up to almost a second. As we're on board now with Skip Brock, still has not been able to deal with Jordan Butler. Jordan Butler really putting in a great drive here under a heck of a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he's done an exceptional job and very consistent laps as well. And I think most importantly, most of the car is still together. He's had a little bit of damage on the nose, but since then he's kept the bodywork mostly in one piece. And this time,
up and over that, it's the undulations here is so fun. Sorry, Kyle.
I was going to say, just 2 laps to go this time through, as 2 minutes and 35 seconds puts us in that 2 to go window. So Morgan Burkhardt extends his gap another 0.2 of a second that lap around. And
up
puts
to 1.1 right now.
Yeah, and it'll put the pressure on Rice-Puto to try to run him down. But Rice-Puto was slower than Soto by a pretty significant margin compared to what they were running with Soto leading the train here. So sometimes it's best to have your strongest locomotive out front, Greg, and I think they've swapped the engines around here, maybe the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Caleb Patry has been able to get around the 108 of Rickson Greeny. And Beans Forster right at the back of this group. He has not been able to find an answer for Jordan since he became the guy that he was going to fight with here. But still in all, the top 6 covered by a really, really tidy 2.5 second margin here.
Gilliland in the number 16 has had an issue. He's gone around at the exit of, it's like turn 1. And, he might have had some help. That's the tail end of it. And it's the 042 of Seth Spillman that got down to the inside and turned him around.
Yeah, that was a really late move by Spillman. And, so close for that red car, too. But, yeah, late move by Spillman, it looked like. And, you hate to see that happen. But look at this, Morgan Burkhardt now stretching that margin out every bit, or at least maintaining it right now about an even second to Rice-Puto. Let's see what this is going to be it, isn't it? One more lap to go here next time through. Does Rice-Puto have anything for Burkhardt? Forster lunges down to the inside of Rickson Greeny, but that tightens up your entry into that corner. Rickson Greeny gave him enough room so they didn't hit as the white flag comes out. But it also pinched Forster enough he didn't have that exit speed. But now they really lost touch with that lead group too, Kyle.
Yeah, he took a swipe at him, and Rickson Greeny denied him that time. But you see him trying to get to the inside here through turn 2. Sees the door open. He just needs that drive off and the run up the hill.
What are you going to do here? This is the thing. He had some good momentum there, but a nice job there. That's what we're talking about by a clean defense, is Rickson Greeny moved almost in concert with Beans. Beans now going to throw it around the outside, down the bottom of 5. Always a gutsy move here. Nice bit of driving by Rickson Greeny, giving him a lot of space. And that wider line looks like it's going to give Forster a nose ahead. He'll be cleanly ahead by the time they get to this tricky chicane.
See if Rickson Greeny can rebound or answer in any way here at the exit of the corkscrew understeer there. He spun in front of them.
Yeah, that was Soto going around, I think.
It was, and I think there was some contact with Patry. Oh no, Soto got loose in the grass all on his own, and Patry actually didn't even touch him. It was close.
Yeah, it was. I just dropped that left. You talked about it at the top of the show with these grass verges. You let those tires drop when they're loaded, and you're going to go for a ride. Soto, once again, such great speed and not going to have much of a result to show for it.
Yeah, that's been a story for the 77. Hope he can turn things around, but Greg, Morgan Burkhardt continues to impress.
He is just so smooth, very little in terms of mistake, and just rolls such speed through the apexes. Burkhardt, another win this season, absolutely impressive. Drive official margin of victory. Let's see, 0.9 of a second over Rice-Puto. Rice-Puto a little bit quicker on that last lap, but couldn't do anything with it. Patry will fill out the podium. Beans Forrester did get around Ricks and Greeny for 4th, and Ricks and Greeny will fill out the top 5.
And a battle to the
Look at
checkers
this.
here. This is for 10th place. Top 10, Pocock or Schmidt. Man, that was close, and it will go
incredibly
to
close.
Schmidt, 0.004 of a second.
Unbelievable. That is incredibly close here. And late in that lap, Skip Rock was able to get around on Jordan Butler and pick up a 7th, too. This is still some furious racing here. A little bit farther back in the pack, 73 Buttermore alongside, I think that's Carson Neal. Right up in front of them is that Seth Spolman.
It's Dara in the green car, and then the 117 of
Dara,
Neal.
yep. There you go.
And
great stuff.
11 thousandths between 18th and 19th after all that. Wow.
That's just great racing. And that's one of the things that's so fun about this. We have these great battles at the front, certainly, but everywhere on the track, the racing is absolutely fast and furious here. And one thing I wanted to note as we're showing you the results here is take a look. Camden Hibbett's best lap. He just didn't have the pace here today that we've seen before. I don't know if he's relatively inexperienced at this venue, but look at that. We had that battle, with Pocock at the back, Bank and Friedhofer. And Olivier Piatek had that issue early and was never able to come up through. So race 1 done here, Kyle. And as we suspected, it was a beauty.
Yeah, and thinking back to last season, Greg, we didn't see a ton of battling for the top spot. And in this one, we didn't have a lead change, but it was very close.
Yeah.
Josh Soto was right there with Morgan Burkhardt. So with the lessons learned from race 1, race 2 might get a bit more interesting.
We often see that, don't we? Things develop just a little bit. While we're in the break here, want to remind everybody once again that 1st through 3rd place overall at the end of the season, they'll all get trophies. But 1st place will also get a Fanatec DD2 25 Newton meter direct drive wheelbase. 2nd place will get a Fanatec V3 inverted load cell pedal setup. In 3rd place, you get a choice of a Fanatec Club Sport H-Pattern sequential shifter or a 2-year iRacing paid subscription. And please note, folks, that all Full Send Sims admins and instructors are eligible for the trophies, but not eligible for sim hardware. So drivers below the top 3 could still win some of that hardware. And if you've already won during a calendar year some hardware, you don't get it again. So again, another chance for those in the lower positions to win. So pretty basic right there. Don't give up. Don't give up here. And again, want to say a huge shout out to 3P Logistics owner Frank Rodriguez. It's logistical support for you, your family, and your race car. We'll take care of everything from booking flights, rental cars, hotels, group gatherings while you're away from home, and then they'll offer you up trailered trackside support. And in between races, they've got race car storage, maintenance, and repair for you. And Final Turn Motorsports owner Rob Greenwood, a full-service prep shop along with trackside support. They do dyno tuning, and they're a Miata tranny builder. And they also do driver development from licensing all the way up to pro-level racing. And we do want to remind folks, Kyle, that as always, Full Send Sims continues to offer one-on-one instructional sessions. They're available to book. You just have to go to fullsendsims.com. The instructors are no less than 2-time champ Morgan Burkhardt, Ben Beans Forrester, and Conrad Chachik, top-tier instructors there. And the racing schools are free to all members. You can still do one, but you're going to have to pay if you're not a member of the league. But highly encouraged to those who are struggling with speed or have to be banging out too many fenders. Topics will always include incident avoidance and racecraft, along with instruction specifically tailored to the track the school is being held for, usually the same track that the race will be the next weekend. Next driver's school will be 8/31, August 31. It will be at Road America, their driver's school there. We will be running that track a little bit later in the season. And of course, the next race is going to be Sebring International and the long course. That has always proven to be absolutely fascinating for racing too, hasn't it, Kyle?
Oh, Sebring, it's one of my favorite racetracks, not only in the real world, but in the sim world. The bumps and things translate very well to the steering wheel that drivers have to wrestle in order to go fast around there. We've had some really close finishes, and Sunset Bend, it just sets up for epic finales every single time. So I can't wait for that. Barber Motorsports Park that we're at tonight has been a lot of fun so far. But as far as the season goes, Greg, there's still so much left. Of course, Sebring is our next race, but we continue to work our way on to Road America, VIR, Daytona, Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, and we end on Sebring's Club Course. So that's kind of where the finale will end up.
That's going to be really interesting too. Yeah, it's a great calendar, and for people that are racing in some serious SCCA nationals or other major events, trying to mirror races that will happen after we run them to give everybody here a little bit of extra training. Also want to just let everybody know that Full Send Sims recently released their new sim rig model called the Pro Ultimate Rig. Features a triple screen setup, 49-inch center monitor, 2 side monitors, and a 34-inch fourth or top monitor where you can have telemetry and track data or track maps. Once again, go to fullsendsims.com and check that out. And really, haven't driven on one yet, but I've seen some video and pictures of it. It looks absolutely spectacular. And lastly, I want to remind folks that if you're interested in sponsoring one of our seasons here, just go to iRacing at fullsendsims.com. That's iRacing at fullsendsims.com. There's going to be a lot more visibility, working on some special promotion for sponsors. Your company logos can be displayed, etc. So give that a serious thought as we continue here. And always remember, the Full Send Sims mobile sim unit is available for rental in Florida for any type of event. It's perfect for small gatherings or events, or even personal use. And if you're at a racetrack, it's available for single-day rentals up to 8 hours in Central Florida. And if you're at a racetrack where it is on site, you can get some time on it, bring your coach in, and set up and really work on things. So look at that.
I was going to say, Morgan.
That's called rally caps.
I was going to say, Morgan wears a lot of hats here at Full Send Sims, but that's a little excessive, I'd say, Greg. Man, that's a talent.
Maybe that's how he maintains his smoothness, because he wants to finish the race with all those hats still on his head.
It's like the old egg under the throttle pedal thing.
The throttle pedal, or Jackie Stewart's ball in a bowl taped to the hood of a car. That's hilarious.
That's great. Morgan Burkhardt. I'm going to see if we'll check back in on the start of the race and see if he's still wearing them. We've got Camden Hibbett as well. We've seen his on board a couple of times tonight as he's wrestled his car a bit. And, of course, Greg Ginsburg with his message for his mom on the side of his VR. And this is a really interesting way to experience sim racing. I think he's got a wind unit there on the left, Greg, to simulate the flow of the air, the breeze past your face.
Oh, gosh, he sure does.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a trick setup, isn't it?
It is. He got a nice big wide monitor. It's like the Fanatec CSL DD steering wheel, and a nice dashboard that he won't be able to read much with the VR on. But cars are rolling, and on the left-hand side of the screen, there is your starting lineup. It is the finishing order from the previous race, and that will put Burkhardt and Rice-Puto on the front row, and Josh Soto will start 6th, Greg, and we know he's fast, so he should be a lot of fun to watch here in this opening lap.
Yeah, I'd say keep an eye on Soto and the 132 of Hibbett, because we know he's quick too. He got mired back in the pack right there in that red and black Mazda. A little bit of an issue early in the race, dropped back a little bit, but he's got some great speed, so let's see if he can fight his way up through the pack. And Olivier Piatek too, we know he's quick and struggled a bit, so see what happens here.
I find that race 2 tends to be more aggressive than race 1 because drivers have kind of figured out their weakest point. That means that we should see some pretty big dives here on this opening corner. And turn 1 and 2, it lends itself to big dives, I think mostly because you've got camber to lean on, so the corner's fast. You don't have to slow down all that much, especially when you're starting from a roll like we do here in the MX-5s. So drivers just sail down in here, but the exit is so much more tight than you think it would be, and there's no rumble strip out there, at least in this laser scan of the track. It's just pavement, then grass, and that's caught a lot of people off guard before.
Oh, absolutely. The car just snaps sideways, and then usually you come across in front of people, especially at the start of the race, so that's problematic. And as you turn in, just as you transition from the apex out, it falls away a little bit. But when you get to the bottom, there's compression and then the hill. So if you can time it right, you can really sail, as you said. That's a great way to put it through 1. You sail in and then grip out, and really makes it fascinating.
A couple drivers warming up tires and brakes in the background. And despite this having so much flow, the braking zone's into the hairpin. is in particular, get you in some trouble. And we saw a lot of front and rear damage. And the front damage, while there's not crazy long straightaways here, that aerodynamic disadvantage will hurt you quite a bit in these cars. So got to keep the bodywork as pristine as you can, Greg, but 20 minutes go up on the clock. We get set to go racing again here for the Full Send Sim Spec Miata series.
All right, here we go. Burkhardt on the inside, Nicholas Rice-Puto, and the number 5 on the outside. Will Nicholas be more aggressive and work the outside, or will we see Burkhardt just sail away as he did, waiting for that start? Race 2, 20 minutes, we're green! And again, Burkhardt gets that nose ahead. 4, 5, 6 abreast in the back, big contact. 2 cars, now 4 involved as Burkhardt leads through, and it might even be Caleb Patry working a big outside move here with Forster up the inside. See what's going to play out here. Oh, Skip Brock, that's Court Schmidt involved, a couple other cars. Well, you said it might be more aggressive on the start here, Kyle. Nailed it.
Well, that's the old-fashioned commentator curse. You speak it into existence without really intending to, but there's big dramas there.
You sent it out into the universe.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it gets me, Greg. Tonight it did. And, a little more trouble here. Patry and Beans Forster leaning on each other, some pushing and shoving. But that's going to separate out the fields quite a bit. There's only about 5 or 6, 7 cars in this front group, and then it's a long ways back to the next one.
And now you do that huge drop here. Yeah, and that's exactly what we've seen happen before here. And Soto, well, he was at the back of that group, but look at Hibbett. Hibbett was one of the guys, had a heck of a start. He's up into 7th, and Piatek, who started way, way back with all of that incidents, he's up into 10th.
Look at Soto up the inside of Rick Singrini here. This is a big lunge at a fast place. Going to cross over Rick Singrini maybe. Look at the run he's going to get here. Rick Singrini's going to drop a tire, all 4 actually, and here comes Soto up the inside at turn 15.
Yep. And no defense there for Rick Singrini. He's going to have to just, and now he's floating way out wide, and that's going to put Soto through. And Rick Singrini's got to tuck in, then Hibbett right behind them. And Piatek now up into 10th. Tell you what, that was one heck of a start by him. And Jose De Las Casas, a great start, up into 12th as well. So some drivers with all of those incidents behind, taking advantage of opportunity here, Kyle.
Yeah, really nice start for Jose De La Casas. Let's go back and have a look at the incident with Skip Brock Jr. I think he just got loose and spun out.
Yep, I think so too. Then collected that. Court got into him, and that was that Caleb Pocock who ended up spearing off hard into the guardrail. Yeah, he just lost it.
Yeah, that's so strange. Just cold tires and maybe sawing at the wheel a little bit. And you see Court Schmidt, and then watch Pocock there on the left just gets punted and then straight across the gravel trap into the outside wall and rebounded. And everyone else just kind of scattered to get around it. But a messy opening lap, and it will split the field into a couple different groups.
Yeah, it really was. But there you can see Skip Brock behind Carson Neal in the 117. Hopping on board with him, chasing Jose De Las Casas, with Skip right behind him, working through the chicane here. It's so much more than that. I hate to call it a chicane. It's just it's a really neat complex of corners.
Chicane's almost a dirty word in some places, Greg. So
it is.
But it's so it applies to a lot of different left-right combinations, and here that's what they are. They just happen to have a lot more flow than your typical chicane would be. Here comes Skip Brock Jr. up the inside and goes right by Carson Neal, and thought he had him cleared, but Carson fights back, and there's a touch.
Oh, side by side now. Carson has the inside. Skip's just going to let it flow way out. Carson dive into the inside, but look at the momentum wide like that Skip carried through that corner, and that's going to give him a head. That's what I mean. That wide line sometimes, if there's grip, can be really fast.
Love having a couple different options to go through those last few corners. Kind of reminds me of oval racing in a way, where the track is a lot wider than you actually need, but you can explore the width of the track and find grip basically everywhere.
Exactly, and you know the way that those 3 corners essentially are laid out, with it's kind of a little tighter, then it opens up, then tighter to get through the exit of 15 or 16, depending upon what map you're using to set up for the last corner. So if you try and pinch it in, you're going to be slow out and that's where you can have those problems, and that's where that wider line can really pay off. And getting back to your chicane comment, originally, I mean, chicane comes from it's originally, I think, a French word, and which was a derivative of chicanery, which just means, devious, mischievous, right? And so in a way that fits for especially this chicane, because it's a tricky little son of a gun.
Yeah, and these cars is basically flat, but there are some tracks, or I should say a lot of cars that you're not flat through there, as Skip Brock Jr. retires the car here, Greg. I think he's had another incident. Let's go back and have a look. Oh, wow, it
just snapped again.
That was weird.
I wonder, is he having a problem when he downshifts?
No, he already had a lot of damage here, Greg. Watch the steering wheel. See the left hand?
Oh, yeah.
And then, so there's something was already broken, and then when he gets off throttle here,
it's just gone.
Wow.
Great catch, Kyle, yeah. And obviously that was where, Kurt Schmidt clocked him really good in that back corner.
Yeah, that'll knock things out of alignment, and I've driven cars like that in iRacing. It's not fun. The car feels like it's a random number generator in the rear wheels that just does random things, and it's a challenging proposition to hang on to it. But
you never know what you're going to get on turn in, I suppose. Huh?
Right, and especially when you shift the weight off the rear wheels, in particular, it's just it's tough. But Morgan Burkhardt leads, Rice Sputo second, Patry third, then Forster, then Soto. And while Soto got around Rick Sangrini, his progress has stalled here in fifth.
And right now, last race we had the top, was it 6, covered by 2.5 seconds. Hibbett now has joined this group. It's the top 7, but the top 5 right now are covered by less than 1.5 seconds. So this is even more tight than the previous race was, and Hibbett just continues to run these guys down. Last lap, I mean, he set his fastest lap in the last lap, and he's at a 43.6. His best lap in the first race, Kyle, was a low 45. So he's found almost 1.5 seconds.
Well, he's the only one of this front group to have run their best lap on the most recent lap. And you see how much that car is wiggling around. It's got a lot of play in the rear, but a loose car is a fast car. And if you can control it and not burn off the rear tires over the course of a race, you're going to be in good shape. But he's just got really good balance in the car right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because truly a loose car, it rotates, it gets you lined up for corners better. And if you have a car that's pushy, once you push, you scrub speed. And the only way to avoid push is to lift, which reduces speed. So if you can hang on to a loose car and just let just drift it a little bit, it could be, I call it fast loose, and it could be really, really quick. And Camden is doing a beautiful job thus far.
Had to giggle a little bit about the differences in terminology. I come from mostly a NASCAR fan base background where it's loose and tight versus oversteer and understeer, but was listening to a podcast with Dale Jr. talking to Shane Van Gisbergen, and it was the same crossover there where, I had to relearn that oversteer, understeer, loose, tight, different terminology depending on what your main form of racing is.
Well, that must have been fun, not just the different terminology. Whoa, it's Burkhardt. A little bit more rotation than he wanted there. Not just the different terminology, but Alabama accent versus Aussie.
Yeah, it was an interesting interview for sure. But watch Morgan Burkhardt here, really loose, and you see him, he just kind of kicked the car out to the right, because if he didn't, he would have cut that corner. He had to swing the car back to the right, so he threw a bunch of steering at it just to make sure he would clear the track limits.
Well, the one thing I watch Morgan that he is really, really good at, aside from just flowing speed, but when he does get into a little situation, he truly understands the physics. And racing is, I've always said it, a fast lap is an application in physics, and he understands the physics, so he'll use that weight to get the car to suddenly kick a certain way and either get him out of trouble or, like there, avoid cutting a corner. He's very adept at that.
What's the physics of keeping all those hats on your head while you're locked in a fierce fight for the top spot here in a sim race?
That is basically, no matter what the car is doing, you are smooth in the cockpit, baby.
And the Magic Garden wizard hat.
Yeah, that's it. I like it. That's the Merlin version of the Barber Magic Garden hat right there.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, look at, his car is moving around. And your normal tendency, even in a sim, is you're tilting your head into the corner and all that. And he's just being really smooth. And I think that's actually a great idea. I bet you we see a lot of other guys adopt that, just to stay smooth in the seat while your car is doing stuff on the track. And basically what it means is don't get wound up, right?
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. You talk a lot about sim racing and how much you have to focus. And I think, you've mentioned in the past, or just a moment ago, that you can find yourself leaning into the corner or tilting your head, but that doesn't do you any good. It's just an effect of your brain wanting to turn the car more. But if you keep your head straight up, it's going to change things. Look at Rice Sputo. He wants to the inside here for the top spot. Battle for the lead.
Yeah, he got an absolutely great run. He was on the wrong side, but he did pinch Morgan a little bit. So now let's see if he gets a little bit more of a run, is able to get a nose underneath, and Morgan covers it. Now let's see, does Morgan protect? Yeah, he's not out quite as far. But I'll tell you what, I think Rice Sputo is going to put that into his back pocket, because last lap, if they come in there and Morgan swings out like that and Rice Sputo gets that kind of a run, he's just going to stuff it up the inside. Why not? What do you have to lose? Of course, he may not wait, because he really got a run out of the last turn too, didn't he?
He did, and he's got a teammate behind him as well. So Patry might not be willing to jam it up the inside like Rice Sputo did on Josh Soto in the previous race. That's what let Burkhardt get away. But had that not happened, Burkhardt wouldn't have driven away. So now that they've got two teammates in second and third, the dynamics change here a little bit for the top spot.
Yeah, now we have in the top, big aggressive lunge down to the inside. That's a little tighter line down there on the exit. Yep, and there goes Burkhardt, just able to get a little bit better exit as we look back at Caleb Patry going, come on, bud, I'll give you a push if you have to.
And a little bit of lap traffic on the horizon as well, into the corkscrew here. Rice Sputo has been really good out of this section. But that little loss, 4/10 of a second, is going to take him a lap or two to regain. That's how fast Burkhardt has been.
Yeah, but you know what? That little bit of getting underneath, getting Morgan offline, disrupting his line, but slowing you down too. A lap ago, Joshua Soto was the better part of a second behind Beans. He is now half a second off. That's bringing him right into it, and it might just be bringing Rickson Greeny and Hibbett back into this group. For a bit, the top four had broken away, but look at that. There's Soto right on the back, and Hibbett's not that far adrift.
A couple wild cards here. When you bring in drivers that aren't the drivers that are normally in this top group, and while Josh Soto has certainly been there last season, he wasn't there last week, that brings in a bit of a wild card to the tail end of this race. So Josh Soto could really mix things up here at the front. We have under 8 minutes to go. That's how quick things are progressed here. Oh, Rice Sputo dropped the tire in the grass at the exit at 2.
That's going to give Morgan, boy, you just can't make those mistakes, because look at that, right away, there's Morgan, 3 car lengths. Sometimes that's enough for him to make a break. And Hibbett all over the back of Rickson Greeny right now in the battle for the 6th spot too. So they've dropped back a little bit from this group, but still a good scrap, isn't it?
I imagine these two are going to get pretty racy once they realize they are probably out of contention for a top 5. And Rice Sputo was able to close back on Burkhardt in the braking zone at 5. So reeled him back in. He's been more aggressive in the braking zones, and that's gained him a lot of time.
There you see, though, Morgan just flowing that little bit of extra speed that time, and that gap opens right up again. And now they make that run down to 10-11. Really quick flick through here. Oh, what a cool shot. And then now into the much more snug 12-13 complex. And here we go.
A fast corner complex. You're carrying so much speed. The direction changes, a real hustle.
And look at this. Morgan got that little bit of a nose ahead here. And he, in the first race tonight, we saw him get that little bit of a break and then just able to ease away here. Looks like this time, though, Nicholas Rice Sputo, possibly with the help of Caleb Patry, may not be losing him in this one.
As long as Patry...
look at the background. Is that going to be the move by Hibbett? Looks down to the inside. He's there. but right around the outside goes Rixengrini. Rixengrini's got the spot here, but Hibbett, he's going to try and just ramp the outside and has to give way there. Great attempt.
He's got a great run here to use up at turn 5. Rixengrini's gone defensive before. He's going to do it again. Hibbett looks to the right instead. Great opportunity for an over-under here on the exit as well. So he's going to drive off into the corner really hard and try to cross over. He missed a gear on the downshift, though, Greg. We heard him kind of miss the gate, but gains some back on the exit, though.
This has just been a great battle. Two really, really talented drivers here, duking it out. Is Camden going to do a late lunge? Tough to make it work here. If you're going to pass into this chicanery, you're going to have that car well alongside much sooner. And so just tucks back in to fight again.
And whoever gets back to power first, leaving that hairpin at the bottom of the corkscrew, is going to be faster on this whole next section. It is that critical to get back on power first. Rice Budo is hounding Morgan Burkhardt, but isn't able to get overlap here, nor do I think you really want it.
No. I think, that was one of those moves. He's just trying to move around, have Morgan maybe looking in his mirrors, and he's not there, then he's there. Morgan doesn't bite on that stuff too much. But the bigger part of the equation is we're worried about Burkhardt easing away a little bit, and Rice Budo and Patry have decided that's not going to happen, and they are still covered by the proverbial blanket coming by this top 5.
Yeah, should be about 3 laps to go this time through. The top 5 still on top of each other. Here's Hibbett on Rixengrini again, turns in a little earlier. Oh, man.
I thought he might try and stick that nose underneath, but Rixengrini kind of turned in a little sooner, and I think Rixengrini may have sensed that coming.
Jordan's playing defense real well,
he is.
But it has lost them a lot of ground, and I think that's be a source of frustration for Camden here in the closing laps.
Yeah, they're not. This duo is about 3.5 seconds off of that group up front right now. But this group, so close, so much fun watching this.
And Rice Budo still behind Burkhardt. If Burkhardt makes a single mistake, he's going to get pounced on, but we haven't seen him make a lot of mistakes. That's kind of been everyone's Achilles heel, is not capitalizing on the rare ones that do happen.
Yeah, I mean, thus far in 2023, we've had 17 races before this one, and I can think of 2.
Right.
And only 1 was significant. So,
oof. Oh man.
Wow.
4 tires up, and I think he got him airborne slightly.
Yeah,
wow.
He did, right at the exit there.
Coming to 2 laps to go.
Yep.
And he's there. You just have to figure out how to get and establish and keep that overlap.
Yep. Well, I've just got a feeling that Rice Budo on the last lap, if he's here, if he hasn't been able to get through and already, make some sort of a break, he's going to just stuff it down the inside in 15-16. All right, down through 1, and Hibbett. He had that 1 attack here, but just hasn't been able to back that up at this stage. Rixengrini's kind of, I think, improved his exits out of that last corner.
Pushed pretty wide there, but carried good speed, and might have given up a little to Hibbett, but not enough for Hibbett to make it back before the braking zone into 5. Ooh, Rixengrini missed the turn in there just a little.
Yeah, he did. This could be, and Hibbett just right where he was exiting is where Jordan ended up. A little bit of a break now. Those 2 have a few car lengths back to Patry. He's got a couple more car lengths back to Forster and Soto. As they say, it's getting curiouser and curiouser. Okay, that was a different Magical Garden, but the line applies.
Lap and a half left to go, and Rice Budo looks to the right. Is this going to be his swipe here? No, he's going to
force. Yeah, he really defended going in.
Oh, look at the run here. He's going to have overlap this time. He's going to look. No, yes. Thought better of it. So close. Opportunity presented itself.
Yeah.
He just didn't fully commit. Maybe waiting for that last lap. They're rubbing bumpers nose to tail here, Greg. White flag will be waving. 1 lap to go from Barber.
Yeah, but you saw that run that he had when Burkhardt defended going into 12. What Rice-Puto needs to do is just be a little bit more behind, just maybe a car length off as we have the white flag, so that he gets that run, and as soon as Morgan opens the door up here, going into that 15-16, he get jamming. Look at this, Camden Hibbett decided, well, if I can't do the inside move, I'm going to cut down and just run the outside all the way around it.
Got him.
That was perfect.
And for the lead, Rice-Puto looks to the right. Burkhardt goes defensive. Is it an over-under here? He's going to try, but nowhere to go.
Yeah, but look at Beans Forrester saying, all right, I'll go with Morgan. Jumps to the inside. Now Rice-Puto is going to is he going to clear it? I think he's got enough to get clear of Beans. Is he going to try and go up the inside of Morgan into the chicane? No.
Morgan had a really shallow entry, though. It's going to cost him on exit behind him, though they're banging doors.
Yep, and that is exactly what Rice-Puto did not need. Morgan Burkhardt is gone, and Rice-Puto went from second to third. And I think he was setting him up late, and now Burkhardt is gone.
And Forster takes the opportunity to jump all the way up to second place. What a pass past the two teammates.
Fabulous. Yep.
But too late to run down Burkhardt again. Rice-Puto's way off course.
Comes across here and almost clips Patry, or vice versa. Here we go into the last corner here. Yeah, and nothing Forrester can do here. But look at Soto. Late move inside of Caleb Patry. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Oh, and he loses it. Patry does huge contact with the wall as Burkhardt sweeps the event. Rice-Puto in second, Forrester third. Forrester in second, Rice-Puto third, and then Soto coming through in fourth. And with that incident, Rickson Greeny will wrap up the top five. Oh no! Jose de las Casas, well, kissed the wall, and it just put him right back online.
And early incidents and late incidents here in this second race. Jose de las Casas bringing a damaged race car back to the checkered flag. But Morgan Burkhardt sweeps them here at Barber, and I thought that Rice-Puto had him set up. And it was the run down into turn 5 that really kind of sealed the deal, because he tried to cross him over, but he just kind of ran out of space to tuck underneath. Here's a look from high above. And watch the 40. Pick center track here. The 5 wants to go left, but Patrick is right behind him. And then right here, he just couldn't commit, and that's what got him all bogged down.
Well, you know what made that work for Burkhardt is he saw him going to the outside, and I think Burkhardt overslowed a little bit, because you could see that Rice-Puto had to dab the brakes, and that's what stacked everybody up. If we go back and take another look at that move down there, that was amazing.
So, trying to see, there it is. Wondering why these guys looked like they were still racing, but they were not. They're heading back.
They're just
around.
having some fun. Yep.
All right, let's have a look at the race results here, Greg. Top of the board, Morgan Burkhardt, 2 for 2, but it didn't come easy.
No, and that 7/10 margin at the end does not give any clue, because for most of the race, the top 5 were covered by that 7/10 margin, and it was just Rice-Puto trying a little bit of a different move down into 5, and Beans Forrester taking advantage of it. But you can see that completes your podium with Rice-Puto third, then Soto and Rick Sagrini end up in the top 5. Camden Hibbett just missing it with a great run up into 6. Caleb Patry with that late hit into 7th. Jordan Butler 8th. Trace Ants, nice run for Trace up into 9th. And Dean Dierbdahl, a solid run in the 99 into 10th.
And looking down the rest of the order, Carson Neal, Andrew Gilliland, Jose de las Casas comes home 13th with a bit of damage. Then Buttermore, Max Dara, the rest of your top 15. Court Schmidt, early crash, relegates him to 16th. Greg Ginsberg, Pocock, Brown, Spellman, the rest of your top 20 is the bottom of the order. Lots of outs and offs here in the bottom group here, Greg. A lot of early incidents that kind of sidelined drivers in the opening stages.
Yeah, we had lots of contact, didn't we, early in this one, as opposed to that first race, which was quite clean. and it really caught some drivers out, obviously. But those that survived that opening lap or two really put on a fabulous show. And to me, I was with you. I thought that Nicholas Rice-Puto was setting Burkhardt up beautifully for something into that 11-12 or into those last couple, or 12-13, or into those last couple of corners. I really thought that was going to be his move, and it surprised me when he tried something early going into 5. And I think Burkhardt covered it beautifully by checking up just a little bit, and that really caused Rice-Puto to really have to check up, and it almost brought Rickson Greeny into him, and that's when Forster said, I'm just going to jump to the inside.
Well, let's talk to him. Nicholas Rice-Puto, third in race number 2, just shy of a win. You were battling Morgan Burkhardt. You were setting him up. You had your teammate right behind you, and then it just didn't quite go to plan. Take us through what your plan was on that last lap and how you had to kind of shift and shuffle things around.
My plan was hyper-aggression. That was it. That was my only plan. I didn't know where I was going to pass him because it's extremely difficult to pass here.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nicholas, it really looked to me like you kept getting Morgan to sort of feint left a little bit going into 12, and it gave you these runs through 12 and 13. And then Morgan tended to run sort of mid-track in that big arc through 14, 15, and 16. And I thought you were setting him up if you had about a car length between them before you got into that 12, 13, you'd get a big run and be able to just jam it up the inside in that last complex. So I was a little surprised to see you make that move going into 5. But as you know, you just answered, just aggression whenever you could try and make something happen, huh?
Oh, I try to get a good run down the front straight, but it's not enough draft to get fully alongside. I know you saw what happened between me and Soto in the first race.
Right.
It's not quite enough, and I was afraid I was going to understeer into him like I did with Soto, so I didn't try the move there. But yeah, that probably would have worked. Honestly.
Well, yeah. Well, it looked like you were setting it up to perfection. And, but nonetheless, fascinating race. And I just love watching you play chess. You can see you were working on where can I make this work. And it's so fun to watch a driver of your caliber, play chess, high-speed chess at that level. Great race, Nicholas.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the great commentary always.
Our pleasure.
All right, thanks so much. We move on now to second place finisher, Beans Forster. And in the final lap, it all was looking positive, Beans, but you just didn't have enough time to run Burkhardt back down. Tell us what happened out the windshield there. It got spicy on the final lap.
I did not expect that. I did not think that was going to happen the way it did, but I'm kind of glad it did. It's Barber, so everyone kind of usually sits in a train unless someone makes a mistake. That's usually kind of the only time that positions really swap until you get to that last lap or two. Things starting to get real dicey, and everyone's trying to make a desperate move.
Well, yeah, Beans, you might be an amateur racer, but you're a professional optimist because when you saw that gap open in 5, you just jumped inside and just got a huge run up through that hill, up into the chicane. That was just you had to make that decision right now, and you just executed it beautifully.
Also, I was very confident with going into 5 because sitting behind Caleb, I've seen that kind of their braking point was pulled back between the 1 and the 2 board. And so I knew I was able to carry a little bit more entry speed. And then once I saw how defensive Morgan was going, and then Nick and Caleb both following Morgan, I just saw it, and I'm like, I knew I had the grip and the speed for it. Whereas going into the corkscrew, I just sent it.
Yeah,
send,
you did.
baby.
Full send. Well, hey, absolutely. That's what you got in a car. You got to live up to it. And you know what? Speaking of full send, practice makes podium, and you're on it, bud. Well done.
It does. Yes, it does. It didn't turn out the way it did last time we raced here, but I'll take this.
Heck yeah. That was a great last lap move, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, guys. Awesome broadcast.
Thanks,
Thank
Beans. All right, last but not least, Morgan the Sweep Burkhardt. 2 for 2 again, and you had to work for it pretty hard, especially in that second race. The attack was coming, Morgan. They just never landed it. Never landed a decisive blow, at least. Another couple of wins racking up on the season. Take us through your night. Most of what the action we saw was in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, no, I was. This track it's one of my favorites. The flow is like nothing else. So you really have to be super gentle, especially with the tire wear. The track was really hot. So just being gentle on the wheel, being smooth with it, saving those tires until the end. I managed to get away with it in race 1 a bit. I had a good breather in the last couple laps, but race 2, I really had to play a lot of head games and see if I could really get it through to Nick and Beans and everybody behind me to like get close but not close enough and force them to burn their tires off while I'm not. But a couple laps into race 2, I found a way to kind of drive the car with the rear tires instead of the front. So when everybody else's car is tightening up at the end, mine's starting to get a little loose. So that kind of suited me a little bit better.
Yeah, well, clearly. And the other thing I've got to ask you, on that last lap down into 5, when you got a little wide down there, and it looked like, you weren't that wide, but it looked like Nicholas was going to try and ramp the outside. It looked to me like you overslowed just a little bit because he suddenly had to check up, and that caught everybody behind him out, and that's where Beans just leapt to the inside. Is that what happened there? Did you see what was happening and go, I have to null his momentum?
Pretty much, yeah. We were coming. I knew that I had to block off the inside because it's, especially on old tires. If you're on new tires, you can kind of ramp the outside and take good speed. But once you're on olds, you got to cover the inside and just kind of. I broke super deep trying to keep his front wheel with my quarter panel, and then I kind of went a little wide, and then I slowed it up once he tried to do the over under at the apex, and then got on the throttle and used his momentum to my advantage. But I got pretty lucky with how all that panned out, and then going into the corkscrew, I knew that if I slowed up a bunch on the inside, if I blocked it off there, and Nick followed me, that Beans would probably make a move around the outside, and then they'd go side by side. So that ended up working, and I was able to get a good enough breather that I could kind of just push to the second half of the lap.
Now, once again, man, showing not only solid speed but some great racecraft and getting it done. Last question: the stack of hats. We called it the Merlin version of a wizard cap here at the Magic Garden. Is that just for fun, or are you using that to try and stay very calm while you're driving? Because I see some merit to that.
Well, I didn't even think about that part of it, but I lost a bet. So the bet was to find every hat that I have in my room, and put them on my head, wear them in some fashion. So I was just like too short of getting a bungee cord out, but I blew up the motor last week, and the bet was that I made before even season 1 started that I would have to do this if I ever toasted a motor. So here's the payment.
Well, it certainly gave us a wonderful talking point as well. So thanks for that. And as always, thanks for just putting on a phenomenal race.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Morgan. All right, Greg, wrapping things up here from Barber Motorsports Park. What a fun night of racing again. And Morgan Burkhardt dominant in the wins column only, but he has had to fight for it week in and week out. But Sebring International Raceway on the horizon next week, one of my favorites in Central Florida.
Well, and we've raced there before, haven't we, this year? And the racing, the calls at the finish were absolutely spectacular. So, it's a driver's track. You've got to deal with the bumps and all the challenges there that are unique to Sebring and make it just some exceptional racing. So I'm with you. I am so pumped about next week. I'm pumped for this full schedule. I mean, you look at what we're going to be doing here. It's just incredible. And again, folks, remember on the 31st of August, we're doing, I'm not, but Full Send Sims is doing a school for Road America. So make sure that you check that out, especially if you're somewhat new to Road America or you're just not quite in the pace. Just a great opportunity for you there. And as always, Kyle, a huge thank you to a great group of the supporting sponsors and presenting sponsors that we have here. You just can never say it enough. Final Turn Motorsports and Rob Greenwood, 3P Logistics and Frank Rodriguez, and of course, Kurt Schmidt and Full Send Sims. It's been absolutely spectacular as always. Phenomenal racing. Can't wait for Sebring International Raceway next Tuesday night. For Kyle and for Finian, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks you so much, everybody, for tuning in here, and we'll see you in a week's time. Until then, take good care.